tonight, low voter turnout as Lagos and Ogun State hold local government election exercise are judged largely peaceful by police authorities. Police repel attack on divisional headquarters in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State, rescue 8 kidnapped victims in Katsina State. Governor Nyesom Wike reaffirms his administration's resolve to partner the South Korean government investors in agriculture, medicine, as well as other business interests in River State. And rescuers search for survivors in parts of western India after heavy rains resulted in deadly floods.
And on business news tonight, ahead of the MPC meeting on Monday, the Apex Bank reiterated the resilience, safety and soundness of deposit money banks.
In the local government elections held in Lagos and Ogun State today, the exercise took place in 20 local government areas of Ogun State, as well as 20 council and 37 local government development areas in Lagos State. At some of the polling centers monitored in Ogun State, card readers were not deployed as voters were seen being manually accredited. It was gathered that electoral officers were asked to adopt that method to make the process faster. On the other hand, in Lagos State, the card readers were put into use, but officials settled for the manual option where there were technical hitches. In the areas covered by our correspondents in both states, there was low voter turnout, although the exercise largely went peaceful.
All right.
Voting and results collation have ended in most parts of Lagos State after today's election across 20 local government and 37 local council development areas. The exercise did not come without hitches, but perceived as largely peaceful, but appears most voters were too shy to turn up at the polling units, even with restriction of movement. Our political correspondent, Jewon Kimbaloye, gives us a summary of today's exercise. We'll have that report in a moment, but let's go to Ogun State, where residents also voted to elect new chairmen and councillors at the local government level. Our correspondent, Dare Do, reports on the electoral process, security arrangement, and the key actors.
From the road leading to the state capital in Abeokuta, one gets an idea of what lies ahead. Roadblocks manned by different security agents, every vehicle subjected to checks, all to forestall any crisis. At the polling centers, some electorate are keen on getting the business done and over with. They scan through the voters list, pasted for all eyes to see. The electoral officers also want to clear any doubt by proving they are starting on a clean slate. The story is not the same all round. In another voting center, a candidate questions the credibility of the process.
When the presiding officer and other exec staff came in, they tell them to paste the voters list on the wall there, but they did not allow that. The second thing is that some people came here to vote without their voters card or any identity.
We don't have gum that we can use to paste the list. And when we get to this place, I addressed them. I told them that we want somebody to help us to get gum in order to paste this list. Is here with us. But any member of this area that want to vote, they will come with their voters card. Immediately I check it, I'll just give them their ballot paper.
The governor cast his vote at his hometown in Iperuremo. He is pleased with the process.
Let me first commend the Ogun State Independent Electoral Commission for doing such a wonderful job. The preparation for the elections, the sensitization for the elections, the implementation, as far as I've seen, in terms of ensuring that voting materials get to different voting centers on time.
The Ogun State Independent Electoral Commission pushed the voting period by an hour. The chairman explains the reasons behind that decision.
We have received reports, complaints even, that in one or two areas, polling materials have arrived a bit late. And being realistic people, we will not delude ourselves into not accepting that. So what we have done, in order to make sure that everybody has a chance to vote, is to say, okay, perchance the materials arrived in your area slightly later, then we will extend for the entire state by 1 hour.
Quiet, largely peaceful, with a turnout typical of local government elections. Ogun State residents in 20 local government, 236 wards, have elected chairmen, councillors who will steer the affairs of the state at the grassroots for the next tenure. Local government, the third tier of public administration, entrusted with functions to cater to the needs of the grassroots. The effect these voters will love to see manifest in no time. Dari Idowu, Channels Television News.
Now let's look at that report by our political correspondent Seun Okinbaloye, who gives us a summary of how the local council elections took place in Lagos State.
Major roads in Lagos deserted, save for the inner roads, which have now turned into makeshift sporting facilities. Some voters up and early. They have called at the polling units before 8 a.m., the hour for the commencement of the exercise, and are waiting. About an hour into the election, materials and election officials arrive in most polling units. In Lagos West Senatorial District, the distribution of materials to polling units is widespread, but the deployment of electoral materials falls way behind schedule. While the voting process commences behind schedule in almost all of the centers visited in Shasha, Igondo, Egbere Idimu, Ifakoijaye, Agbado Okiodo, the situation is made worse by a low voter turnout.
A lot of people, at least up to 200 people have left here because they believe that even if they vote, they are going to rig it.
On the other side of the city, across the lagoon, not so much difference. The process of accreditation and voting started a little behind schedule in most areas we visited in the Lagos East Senatorial District. Election officials and voting materials arrived after the 8 a.m. scheduled time for the process to begin. Officials and materials also arrived late at Ward 09 Ikoyi 2 polling unit 019 Femi Okunu Latif Jakande, where the governor of Lagos State Babajide Sanwo-Olu cast his vote.
There could be a few delays in terms of the officers coming up, like we had even here. But we thank God that at least they are here.
The frustration of turnout worries some other political figures.
It's unfortunate that people ignore the local government, despite the fact that the local government is the closest means of governance to us.
A mild drama ensued at the St. George's School, Falamo, where a member of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Honorable Yusha Ogbolango, representing Etiosa local government, cast his vote. A PDP candidate is unhappy that the electoral officials did not allow a candidate drop his ballot in the box despite allowing him to vote when his name was not found on the list.
Madam, you put it in the ballot box. Then you're not doing your work well.
Unencouraging voter turnout made worse in some areas by malfunctioning smart card readers. In areas like Surulere, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, voted.
Turnout is low, but what is more important is, for me, the peaceful nature of the election, what I've seen so far. I asked the officials why the card reader was not working. They said it hadn't been working all day, and that because of network problems. And I was very surprised to hear that. Here we are at a time when the whole nation is engrossed with the issue of transmission, which we all want. It's too important to have electronic transmission. I think it's extremely important. But I'm very disappointed to come here and hear that even the card reader is not working because of network problem in an urban area, like this local government. So I hope INEC, NCC, all those who are saddled with that responsibility of making sure these things work will get on get their hands on the plow and do what is needed to be done.
Trouble soon escalated in Shomolu local government area when the Young Progressive Party members and the supporters realized their party name and logo are missing on the ballot, specifically in Shomolu local government area.
In all wards in Shomolu local government, for this local government election, Young Progressive Party, YPP, was not on the ballot paper.
The police are supposed to protect us, to shield us. But the same police that arrested our chairman for coming to last year to demand why our names, the party name, was removed from the ballot paper.
The police is explaining the reason it arrested the YPP chairmanship candidate for Shomolu LCDA.
He has no business there. So he went there with some people now to protest. According to information available to me, he said his name was not on the ballot paper also, or not on the list there. But that one is a party affair. For him to have gone there now with the intention now of disrupting the election, he has violated electoral regulation. So that is why he was arrested. So I've been investigated. So at the state CID party, from there now I'll be charged to court accordingly.
At about 3 p.m., officials began sorting and collation of results. That marks the end of the voting phase of the exercise. Lagos residents will then look to last year for the final announcement of results, which the commission says will be available on its website. Shiwa Kimbaloye, reporting for Channels Television News.
Staying in Lagos, the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Hakeem Odumusu, says the election process did not record any security breaches. He, however, warned the eventual winners and losers in the process to be moderate in their reactions. Mr. Odumusu spoke with journalists when he stopped at the Orile Agege area while monitoring the security situation during the exercise.
The uproar here is that I think there are two parties here, the YPP and the APC. So some are alleging that some group want to come and snatch the ballot box. Some people want to come and falsify the results. Some people want to come and kidnap the officials of the state INEC. So that was why. So they said they want to protect their votes. But protecting your votes with all this mama crowd now is creating another tension within the community, within the locality. That's why we asked them, all of them, to go. Why the party agents will wait. We are still going to be on till the results are released, so that whoever that loses the election will not react negatively. So in order to create breach of peace, and why those who wins will not overjubilate too and create another animosity. So far, so good. There has not been any incidents of crime since it started.
In part two, after the break, we'll be taking a further look at governance at the local government level. And we have a member board of Yaga Africa, Ezenwa Nwagu, to discuss this. Join us again. Just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Low turnout of voters as Lagos and Ogun State hold local government election. Exercise adjudged largely peaceful by police authorities. Police repel attack on divisional headquarters in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. Rescue 8 kidnapped victims in Katsina State. Governor Nyesom Wike reaffirms his administration's resolve to partner the South Korean government investors in agriculture, medicine, as well as other business interests in Rivers State. And rescuers search for survivors in parts of western India after heavy rains resulted in deadly floods. As part of efforts to make local government independent, the Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives, Mr. Ahmed Wase, promises that the House will pass a bill to ensure the third tier of government is truly independent. Mr. Wase says that development can only be achieved if the local government is functional.
The freedom to manage council resources, make bylaws and discharge other functions without interference from the higher tiers of government. These are the aspirations of local governments in Nigeria. This was reinforced recently by the executive order signed by President Muhammadu Buhari in May 2020, emphasizing financial autonomy to the other arms of government, the judiciary and the legislature at both the state and council levels.
I don't think what we have today that local governments have really flourished in Nigeria because first, they are not autonomous. They are supposed to be autonomous. They are supposed to have their direct impact on the people and get their direct resources from the federal government, responding to the three tiers of government, where we have the federal government, the state government, and the local government.
So what exactly are local governments empowered to do as stipulated in Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution? Provision and maintenance of primary, adult and vocational education, naming of streets, numbering of houses, the provision and maintenance of public conveniences and waste disposal. It's also the duty of local governments to undertake the registration of deaths, births, and of course marriages, assessment and collection of tenement rates, control and regulation of outdoor advertising licensing, assessing the health status of eateries, and control of alcohol. In 1999, a panel led by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Kanu Agabi, then Minister of Justice, recommended that parts of the Constitution listing the names of local governments should be deleted on the premise that within the principle of a truly federal system, local governments are not federating units and should not be specifically mentioned in the Constitution. However, this line of thought has been met with stiff opposition by those in favor of autonomy for local governments.
Before the end of this regime, we should deliver on the constitutional amendment a very viable, workable local government system that will be truly third tier of government. Not a third tier that when you do federation account allocation, some few persons will go and sit down somewhere in the small room, did all the cuttings, and then send out the peanuts. Meanwhile, the bulk of the problem, be it infrastructure, be it the security, is there at the grassroots.
3 unions are working together toward achieving an autonomous, independent local government system in our country so that the connectivity between the grassroots people and democracy will be enhanced.
The debate has been on for a long time and may go on for a while longer until something shifts.
Now, to look at local government elections and the system in general, we're being joined on the news at 10 by a member board of Yaga Africa and an election observer, Mr. Isaac Wanwagu. A pleasure having you with us on the news at 10.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Now, let's begin by today's assessment of the exercise. What are your thoughts?
Well, the first take for me will be our general attitude to subnational governance, and that includes election generally. The kind of investment that we have done with the federal election management body, we have not been able to do that with the state independent electoral commissions. And so we have seen them struggle through organizing local government elections that are largely superintended by chief executives of the states. First and foremost, if you observed this one, the argument out there is that the outcome is already known, people are disinterested, we don't feel the impact of this local government. All those regimes of excuses that people hoist takes away the fact that there is something about citizenship and about democracy, about participation. And we're not finding that at that very important level where we should see people engaging. In Lagos today, the turnout was abysmally low, and the officials themselves didn't quite discharge themselves as one will expect. The materials got to polling units quite late. At about 10 o'clock, there about 25% of the polling units were already, were just about 25% were running. By 11:45, 65.9% of polling units were not even up and running at about that 11:45 thereabout. So, but all of that, the people still had up to 3 p.m. to cast their votes and a call made. But as you saw, a lot of people, young people were playing football. The old were just sitting around and not being interested. So we need to be able to see how we can excite that interest for local government election, the same way we get engaged with federal issues. And it's not just elections, budget issues, even for local government, are shrouded in secrecy. You know, I mean, there are many people who live in these local governments, educated people, who don't even know that their local governments appropriate
Exactly,
resources.
and that's what brings me to my next question, because for a tier of government, which ought to be the closest to the people, and we're having reports of people playing football, like you observed, low voter apathy, what do you think is really responsible for this? How can the government really instill that confidence in the people to make them go out?
Well, I actually don't like to toe this line about government. Let's say the government does not want to do that.
Okay.
But as a citizen, it's our business to now begin to make those demands and say we want to participate, because your non-participation means, for instance, that whether you like it or not, in the local governments of that, the 20 local governments in Lagos State, 37 LCDAs, chairmen will be installed in the next few days, and those chairmen will do what local governments do, and those things will affect you.
So how can we make local government elections in Nigeria better?
So part of it is what we're doing, the excitement that we're bringing to local government elections through the kind of coverage that you have seen in this Lagos election. The Ogun election has never happened before. We are torchlighting that interest to say, hey, it's about you. That is where you live in this community, whether you like it or not, and you must begin to engage. And the way to do that is to strengthen the state independent electoral commissions through capacity building, through funding, and through training that helps them to. For instance, you saw that quite a lot of their officials couldn't even bring out the smart card reader from the parks where they were. Talk of even trying to see whether they can use them or not. And that has to do with capacity. It has to do with capacity building. So the big challenge is that as we are investing in the INEC, Independent Electoral Commission, we need to also pay indeed much more greater attention to state independent. This argument about, oh, scrap them, they are not doing well, we have that challenge. Once we have a problem, we want to see how we can outsource it. We need to confront those challenges and bring them to that point where they can hold elections that can inspire confidence in citizens.
Member Board of Yaga Africa, Mr. Ezenwawagu, a pleasure sharing your thoughts with us on the news at 10.
Thank you, I appreciate you.
To security matters now. In Kaduna State, police operatives have repelled an attack by persons suspected to be bandits on the Maraban Jos Divisional Police Headquarters in Igabi local government area of the state. According to a statement by the State Police Command, the superior firepower by its personnel during the gun battle with the bandits forced them to retreat, with some of them escaping with bullet wounds. Now, he explains that the target of the bandits was to gain access into the divisional armory, adding that the mission failed as operatives were able to secure the armory, the entire police station, as well as other facilities at the division. Meanwhile, at least 8 kidnapped victims have been rescued in Batsari local government area of Katsina State. The victims, comprising 6 females and 2 males, were reportedly kidnapped and whisked away into the forest while in transit. The spokesperson of the Katsina Police Command, SP Gabo Isa, said the hoodlums attacked and kidnapped all the occupants of the vehicle and took them into the forest. On receipt of the report, personnel of Operation Puff Adder and Sharandaji chased after the hoodlums, engaged them in a gun battle, and successfully rescued 8 of the victims, while the search for 3 others continues. Now, staying with security issues, 3 persons have reportedly been shot and killed by gunmen in a suspected reprisal attack by rival cult groups in Ondo town, the headquarters of Ondo West local government area. The murder suspects were said to have stormed the residence of Wonshion Akinshisu in the town around 6 p.m. on Friday and shot him dead and fled the scene immediately. Local sources said that as the gunmen were leaving, they also killed an officer of Amoteku Corps and another man whose identity is yet to be revealed. But the commander, Amoteku, in the state, said that no member of his team was killed in that attack. Although the federal government continues to fight insurgency through the military and other relevant means, the impact of the conflict on the affected population, especially in the northeast, remains devastating. Today, Borno State, where it all began, continues to contend with humanitarian crisis resulting from the menace, which has left nearly 2 million people displaced. This next report looks at the situation in Borno State 12 years after.
Marcus once stood here, the Muhammad Yusuf Mosque, attracting followership mostly amongst young people. Fundamentalism and anti-government ideologies were preached from here until it snowballed into full-blown violence. This green pillar is the only standing reminder of Marcus many years after the government demolished the mosque, a nagging reminder that the killing of its founding father has done nothing to end the insurgency. 12 years on, what began as a religious movement has left devastating effects on Borno State and parts of the northeast.
These are boys that are known in the society, and they are freely making their own preaching. A lot of ulamas have called on the government of them and called on the agencies to do something because this is contrary to the teaching of Islam.
At least 2 million people have been displaced by the conflict, confined only to internally displaced people's camps. Other IDPs live in tents and open fields in host communities, which is now more desirable than the villages they left behind.
If you stay there at the camp, you have to follow their rules. If you go out and return late, they won't let you in. If you make a mistake, they will punish you. We will rather stay here. If our town becomes peaceful, we will go back.
Children are most affected by the crisis, many of whom are born into the conflict.
No child should have to be resilient. Going through these multiple challenges, they shouldn't have to be resilient. They should just be happy and be children.
The decade-long conflict leaves devastation in its trail. The scale is alarming and will take decades to recover. Impoverished by the conflict, transborder trade, farming and animal production are vocations that dwellers here can only hold in painful memory.
Maiduguri, for example, the state capital, was rated as one of the fastest growing cities in West Africa. But suddenly we lost that. We lost our nightlife. We lost the kind of businesses that thrive in this place. We lost the kind of international businesses that come into Maiduguri, market, for example, from Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. And up to today, we've lost our social lives.
The military has sustained its counterinsurgency operations following the execution of Muhammad Yusuf, but neither have the militants backed down from their rebellion, with successes emerging over the years. Many have been killed from both sides, but hardly are their records accounting for the dead. While the Borno state government has commenced the rebuilding of towns and resettling of IDPs, the affected population is more concerned about surviving harsh economic realities and the dangers lurking in their villages.
When the news at 10 returns, the Bauchi state government begins the first phase of cholera vaccination following a recent outbreak in the state. That's in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. The Northeast Development Commission has been meeting humanitarian development and peace-building actors in the region to bolster efforts aimed at rebuilding and rehabilitating the region from the ravages of Boko Haram. The Commission is engaging these stakeholders to get their input into the Northeast Stabilization and Development Master Plan and enhance the coordination of the provisions of crucial support for the victims. Its managing director, Mr. Mohammed Al-Khali, says consultations are aimed at ensuring that aid activities in the region are properly coordinated to meet the crucial needs of the victims.
It is a meeting of critical actors for the rebuilding of the Northeast, and the objective is to brainstorm on the implementation of the Northeast Development Master Plan. Humanitarian agencies and development partners are engaged in various activities in the region to provide some form of succor for victims of insurgency. However, this meeting provides an opportunity to harmonize all those efforts to align with the Northeast Stabilization and Development Master Plan.
Before now, we have all worked in an ecosystem that everybody provides one bit, even before the commission was established. So our main reason for calling this interaction today is please give us your frank opinion, views, and observation so that before we can go far, all your comment, observation will be incorporated into the master plan.
Established in 2017, the Northeast Development Commission is leading the rebuilding efforts in the region. In 2018, the federal government earmarked 45 billion naira to rebuild the region, while the commission developed the 10-year master plan starting from 2020. How feasible is the implementation of this plan in view of the protracted security situation in the region, which already is in its 12th year?
The crisis in the region is, in fact, why the commission, the NEDC, Northeast Development Commission, is established. And we cannot wait until total peace, total in quotes, is achieved. So each area will be addressed by the plan, looking at the prevailing situation.
You plan and forecast first, whatever the number of years. So you start with what I call the low-hanging fruits, then go to this, the short term, mid-term, and long term. So it's just something for you to say, okay, because you have the master plan for 10 years, you have everything done in that 10 years. Some can be done in 1 year. So if they need to elongate the master plan, it can be revised.
According to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, there are over 1.9 million internally displaced persons in the Northeast, while 8.7 million persons are in need of humanitarian assistance. The Commission is hoping that the master plan can cater for these victims.
From the north, let's head south to Rivers State, where the governor, Nyesom Wike, has attributed the secret of his administration's success in delivering good governance to the robust relationship between the three arms of government in Rivers State. The governor also stated that his administration's readiness to work with the South Korean government's investors in improving agriculture, medicine, as well as other business interests in Rivers State is truly essential. And he mentioned this when he met with the ambassador who visited him at the government house in Port Harcourt as part of his effort to stimulate robust investment partnership between Nigeria, South Korea, and other East Asian markets.
Political stability is key for Korean companies to decide investment in Nigeria. So we want to see continuous political stability in Nigeria, and that's what I have seen here. And then with regard to our economic cooperation, I have seen some possible areas, not only construction, not only oil and gas, but also agriculture, fishery, and even cosmetics, medicine, pharmaceutical product.
We have established a cassava processing company that buys off cassava from our local farmers, right? But that is not enough. So we require a lot of support to be able to enlarge or expand that. So we would think that if you can give us support in the area of the technical section of it, that will go a long way. And most of our people, private individuals, who are willing to go into capital farming may not have that opportunity because they don't have the right partnership with the foreign investors. As a government, we are willing, with all the necessary documentation, to provide land and give all the necessary waivers and incentives.
Meanwhile, the governor says that the independence of the judiciary and legislature has created a good working environment, which is the reason the executive arm, which he heads, is doing all it can to provide comfortable residence and office complex for all the arms of government in Rivers State. He stated this after inspecting the progress of work at the official residential quarters for the lawmakers of the Rivers State House of Assembly in Port Harcourt.
It would have been difficult if we do not have a robust relationship between the three arms of government. Yes, we are independent, but we work cooperatively to see that the state moves forward. If we have a relationship that is not good with the legislature, then how would they pass the budget to make sure that what the executive wants to implement is being carried out? So we have never had any sort of relationship with the legislature. We've never had any sort of relationship with the judiciary. Every arm of government is independent but working cooperatively for the interests of the state. We wouldn't have been carrying out all these projects without the support of the various arms of government. The executive cannot do it alone, neither can the legislature do it alone, or the judiciary. No. They require the three arms of government. Look at the residents or the quarters of the judiciary. It's one of the best in the country. If the legislature did not give approval of the estimate, the budget, it would have been difficult to implement. And if the legislature did not also give approval of the budget of the so many projects we have been embarked upon, look at the flyovers, how would it have been possible? So it is important for a robust, good relationship between the three arms of government for the interests of the people of the state.
From Rivers, we move to Bauchi, where the state government has rolled out the first phase of cholera vaccination in 3 high-risk local government areas of Bauchi, Toro, and Das. Over 700,000 people will be administered the first dose of the vaccine. 19 local government areas have all reported cases of cholera, and more than 50 people have died from the disease since the outbreak was reported in May this year.
We received about 1.5 million vaccines from WHO, and it's out there in our store. First and second dose, that means we're going to allocate, and we're going to vaccinate at least 750,000 doses in the next 5 days. And we have a mop-up of 1 or 2 days to make sure that we vaccinate all the people in Bauchi local government and other places where they have high number of cases. We have 18 states that have reported cholera in Nigeria today, but Bauchi has the highest number of cases and highest number of deaths. That's the reason why WHO single-handedly selected Bauchi to be the only state that are going to start the vaccination. And we are very grateful to WHO for this magnanimity. I also want to inform the public that it is not house-to-house vaccination. It is facility-based and special places.
The governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, has reiterated the need for opposition politics to be devoid of blackmail, trading on lies, or engaging in acts capable of creating security challenges. Governor Uzodinma mentioned this at a quarterly meeting with critical stakeholders at the headquarters of the State Council of Traditional Rulers in Owerri, the state capital. The governor, who rolled out the achievement and successes of his administration in the last few months, says he's committed to working for all residents of the state.
Components of the program.
It's the quarterly stakeholders meeting organized by the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, as an avenue to highlight the successes and achievements of his administration. The event has in attendance traditional rulers, religious leaders, heads of security agencies in Imo State, politicians, past and present political office holders at state and federal levels in the state.
Senator Hope Uzodinma.
In his opening speech, Governor Uzodinma focuses on his administration's successes and challenges in the last 3 months.
We were faced with unusual situation that demanded urgent and radical approach to deal with in order to restore hope and create an enabling environment for our people to ply their trades without fear and the related encumbrances.
Next, he addresses opposition parties in the state, informing them that he welcomes constructive ideas that will add value to governance of the state.
Opposition politics should be devoid of blackmail, trading on lies, or engaging in acts capable of creating security challenges in the state. Constructive criticism should be the weapon of opposition politics. If we all understand that political party differences cannot be an alibi for setting our state on keg of gunpowder.
Thereafter, the floor was open for comments.
Some few months ago, anybody who said come to Imo State, they will tell you Imo is a danger zone. But today, everybody now regards Imo as the most peaceful state in the country. You must give honor to whoever have done it. If you have any idea of security, you will realize that he did not go chasing rats. I'm a biologist. When you see rat in a maze, the easiest way to deal with that rat is to go to the core, to the source of the rat. His Excellency went to the source, and that was why we had a peace in a very short time.
This meeting is the fourth of its kind, and the governor says more will follow, as residents of the state deserve to know how the state is being governed.
Yoruba Nation agitator Mr. Sunday Adeyemo, also known as Mr. Sunday Igboho, has sued the federal government over the invasion of his house and is demanding 500 billion naira as damages. Relying on sections 33 to 46 of the 1999 Constitution and relevant articles of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, Mr. Adeyemo filed a notice of application to enforce his fundamental human rights through his lawyer, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Yomi Aliu. He's asking the court to, amongst other things, declare that the July 1st invasion of his home in Ibadan is a violation of his fundamental right to privacy and direct respondents to tender a public apology and return all the items seized from his home. Let's move to Akwa Ibom State now, where the government has received a report from the 8-man committee on the judicial panel of inquiry set up to investigate complaints of police brutality, human rights violation, and extrajudicial killings which led to the EndSARS protests in 2020. Governor Udom Emmanuel received the 4-volume report during a brief ceremony at the government house in Uyo. He thanked the panel for their sacrifices, saying the depth of the report is commendable.
I pray as a country we must have learned some lessons. All of us who witness it will all learn some lessons. And we'll make a move to try and close the gap. I think prayer will also help us too as a country. I keep saying so. A country where at the peak of work hours, you can call out 50,000 youths from any state and they will respond. There's something wrong economically with that country. Secondly, a country where you go to the federal capital at daytime, normal weather, clement weather at daytime, you can't hear a single noise of a crane dangling in the air. That country, there's something wrong economically. Nigeria is the only country. You go to Abuja this afternoon, you won't hear the sound of a crane. Go to anywhere, New York, as congested as it is, as you're stepping outside to walk on the streets, you hear the sound of crane everywhere.
And for what's happening in the world of business, here's Laddie Williams.
Thanks, Melinda. In business news, ahead of the MPC meeting of the Central Bank of Nigeria on Monday, the financial regulator has reiterated the resilience, safety, and soundness of Nigerian deposit money banks and other financial institutions under its supervision. Speaking with journalists in Abuja over the weekend, the acting director, Corporate Communications Department of the bank, Osita Wansanobi, said the Nigerian banking system had proven to be very sturdy in spite of the global challenges posed by the coronavirus pandemic. He made this clarification in response to certain false and unfounded stories circulating on social media attacking the soundness and safety of some Nigerian banks. He also reiterated the desire of the bank to prioritize financial inclusion as a measured approach to increase the number of adults included in financial services provided by banks in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank will begin its policy meeting on Monday, July 26th through Tuesday, July 27th. Meeting, which is the 4th this year, will offer members of the committee an opportunity to assess the developments in domestic and external macroeconomy and financial markets since its last meeting in May and provide forward guidance on the timing of a change in monetary policy stance. Although inflation is still well ahead of the CBN's medium target of 6 to 9%, analysts do expect the committee to make a U-turn from its short-term objective of supporting economic recovery, particularly as growth remains fragile and macroeconomic vulnerabilities persist. Expectation is that the committee will maintain status quo on all monetary policy parameters at this meeting. Analysts at Cordros Research, however, expect the underlying tone of the committee to be neutral, given the still elevated domestic inflationary pressures and imbalances in the external sector. And to the FX market now, the total value of transactions carried out at the investors and exporters window of the Forex market fell by 49.86% to $327.53 million week to date as July the 23rd. According to latest report from the FMDQ exchange, the weekly average rate for the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange also dropped 0.04% to 411 naira 7 kobo against the dollar within the comparative period. At the BDC segment of the Forex market, the naira was unchanged as it remained at 500 naira to the dollar. Meanwhile, at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets, The total turnover for the week were mixed. And that's business. It's back to you, Melinda.
Many thanks, Ladi. On the international scene, in Syria alone, lawmakers have voted to abolish the death penalty, becoming the latest African country to move towards banning capital punishment. The death penalty will be replaced with life imprisonment or a minimum of 30 years behind bars for crimes such as murder or mutiny. No execution has taken place in that country since 1998, and death sentences have often been commuted. But Syria Leone, which is still recovering after decades of civil war, has frequently come under fire from rights groups for keeping capital punishment on the books. In May, Deputy Justice Minister Umaru Koroma announced that the government would move to ban the death penalty to uphold the fundamental human rights of the people. Once the measure is approved by President Julius Bayo, Sierra Leone will become the 23rd African country to have abolished the death penalty. Rescue teams in India are racing to reach dozens of submerged homes as the death toll from landslides and flooding caused by torrential monsoon rain rises to at least 125. Experts say the area is being hit by the heaviest rain in July in more than 4 decades. Downpours lasting several days have severely affected the lives of hundreds of thousands, while major rivers are in danger of bursting their banks. And the main news again. There was a low turnout of voters today for the local government election in Lagos and Ogun State. The exercise was, however, adjudged largely peaceful by police authorities. Also today, Governor Nyesom Wike reaffirmed his administration's resolve to partner the South Korean government investors in agriculture, medicine, as well as other business interests in Rivers State. That's the news at 10 tonight. I'm Melinda Akinlami. On behalf of the team, good night.